New cards, some skill updates, and a machine structure deck? Let's talk about it. So for the 7-year anniversary of Duel Links, they're giving players a free copy of the legend spell Shield and Sword, which will change the attack and defense of all cards on the field the turn that it's played. On first look, this is a great way for many decks to clear the board, as many monsters have way lower defenses than attack. So you can easily clear your opponent's field with your own monsters and not fear the barrier or any other stat-changing trap cards. Pair that with the trap card I'll talk about later, and you have a pretty solid defense as well. The next anniversary gift is that every player gets a free Rush Duel structure deck, the ultimate Ace Breaker. In it, we get the following exclusive cards. The first is the Ace monster of the deck, Ultimate Flag Mech Ace Breaker. It's a level 7 effect monster with 2500 attack and 1600 defense. Stat-wise, it's alright, but its effect can be devastating. By discarding 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, you can just destroy any face-up monster on your opponent's field. Honestly, that's not bad. Card destruction is always welcome since the 2 main cards that do it are Ancient Arise Dragon and Widespread Ruin. However, both of those cards do have stipulations on what gets destroyed. Aside from just a simple machine deck, I can see aggro decks running this as well, since the destruction effect can help hit face faster. Next up is another level 7, Ultimate Flag Mech Tough Striker. Not much to say, it's the same stat line as Ace Breaker, but it's just a normal monster. But because the machine deck is so new, having multiple ways to hit hard is always great, so I don't really see any issues here. Ultimate Flag Beast Aim Eagle is our best quote-unquote buffer in the machine archetype so far. If your opponent has a level 7 or higher monster on the field, you can send 2 face-up light attribute monsters from your field to the graveyard. If you do, you can then special summon 1 machine-type monster from your hand face-up to the field. It then gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn, which allows you to clear over boss monsters even with the barrier. As a level 5 monster, Ultimate Flag Beast Canon Rhino is alright in stats, but has a decent effect. By sending 1 light attribute machine type monster from your hand to the graveyard, you can then give a light machine on the field Pierce. And if you have a face-up machine type normal monster, you can then deal 500 damage to your opponent. So, for example, if you have an Ace Breaker, Tough Striker, and some tribute monster on the field, you can then tribute summon for the Canon Rhino, give either boss monster Pierce, and since Tough Striker is a normal light attribute machine, it allows for the 500 effect damage to activate. We then move on to the 2 vanillas of the deck, Ultimate Flag Beast Avan Wolf and Worker Warrior New Recruit. Both are thankfully light attribute machines, so they can be used for Aim Eagle and Canon Rhino to activate their effects. I am surprised to see New Recruit show up instead of a trap card like Battle Demotion, since machines don't really have a good way to interact with back row except for Ghost Cyclone and Hammer Crush. With the structure deck covered, we can then move on to the 2 new bundles that just released. I will put a disclaimer up, since most people probably already pulled in the mini box and got what they want. If you do buy the bundle now, you're just going to be buying packs for that mini box again, and that's not really worth it. So if you can, I suggest you just, save up, don't buy the bundle until the new box comes out, so that you can get a higher chance of getting the cards that you need. Anyway, the first bundle gives us Sword and Shield. It's the trap equivalent of Shield and Sword. When a level 9 or lower monster declares an attack on your own attack position monster, you can then switch the attack and defense of that attacking monster until the end of the turn. You can then add 1 Shield and Sword from the graveyard back into your hand. Like I said before, this will be amazing in Warrior/Yami Ruler decks. Being able to recycle your legend spell is also pretty great, allowing for an additional use if you need it. It is important to note that you will only ever have 1 copy of both cards. So at max, you're probably only going to be getting 3 uses of this attack and defense switch. The second bundle adds another legend monster, one that I don't think anyone was really expecting, Barrel Dragon. It's a level 7 machine with the effect of destroying any monster on your opponent's field if you toss a coin 3 times and get at least 2 heads. Its stats are nothing to scoff at either. Having 2600 attack makes it the highest attack monster in the game so far, and because of that, it can actually crash into an attacking Ancient Arise Dragon if you have a barrier up. It's a super strong monster with a pretty strong effect, so I can see this being an instant add to many decks that can afford the space. Later this month, we are also getting our first rerun of the Mimi event. We will get access to 2 new cards, Shining City Knights and Fashion of Faith. Shining City Knights is an interesting field spell as it boosts all light attribute monsters' attack by 200. While this is pretty good for most Aqua decks, this is also really good for Dragius as well, since it's also a light attribute. If we look at both decks' boss monsters, they would both have 2700 attack after the boost, which will give them an advantage over many other bosses after another buff or debuff is cast, and even overpower an Ancient Arise Dragon with a barrier. The second card, Fashion of Faith, draws a card and gives all face-up level 7 or higher Aqua monsters on your side 400 attack as long as you also have a level 7 Aqua type monster on your field. It's a nice buff, but it gets stopped by two main things. The first obstacle is that Aqua decks really only have Dion Quito as a level 7 Aqua monster, so you can really only get the effect if you have one out on the field already. The second issue is that a 400 attack boost can just get cancelled out by a barrier and cause you to crash into some of the boss monsters. I think it will still see play because people still play Speedy Performer, and you also get the +1 draw, so you can go neutral. We actually have one last card to talk about since you can get it right now in the Tag Duel event. Rage of the Beast is a new spell card that states that as long as you have 2 or more face-up Beast or Beast Warrior type monsters on your field, you can then destroy one spell or trap card from your opponent's field, and, if applicable, shuffle one field spell from your graveyard to your deck. Come on, Konami, it's like you're being cheeky about it. The only good field spell that we'd be able to utilize is the Forest, and we can only pray that Beast Gear World comes out in the next box. But other than that, this is such a strong card that can easily replace Hammer Crush and Ghost Cyclone, since it's less restrictive and many people play Beast Engine, which will generate a lot of opportunities to use this card. Alright, now with all the cards out of the way, let's look at the ban list change and the skill updates. Starting off, we now have Torna the Windweaver, which used to be in the Limit 3 pool, out of the ban list. This is great for decks that either synergize with position changing, or decks that just need to turn face-down defense monsters to a face-up attack. Either way, a great change to open up some more strategy and gameplay. Next up, let's talk about those skills. Magician Shuffle states that from turn 2 and onward, after you reveal one Dark Attribute Spellcaster with 1700 or more defense in your hand to your opponent, you can then add a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your deck or graveyard to your hand. But then you have to send a Dark Attribute Spellcaster with 1700 or more defense from your hand to the graveyard. Before, you can only use this skill if you had no effect monsters with 2500 or more attack. Now, you can use this skill if you only have spellcasters with 2500 or more attack in your deck. Honestly, not that game-changing as of yet. I think people still use this skill regardless, but I'm glad to see it open up for the future. Tempest Drive used to state that as long as the monsters in your deck are spellcasters and beast types, you can choose one face-up wind attribute monster and give it 400 attack until the end of the turn. You can then set one Road Magic Tempest from your hand or deck to the spell trap zone. If you do set from your hand, you can then add one wind attribute monster from your deck to your hand. But now the skill does not have a requirement anymore, and the attack boost went from 400 to 600. This skill can be used with decks that utilize Torna and Bender Break. And with Torna being out of the ban list, you now have more opportunities to use this skill. Whew, that was a lot of information. I'm excited to see how well machines do on the ladder and hope to even run my own decks later this week. I'm trying not to be a shill here, but if you're still wondering if you should play Rush Duel Links, now is honestly a great time to join as they are having their 7th anniversary celebration, and because of that, they're giving out gems, free packs, cards, and all of that combined will let you have a decent start into the game. If you're still watching, please let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about all of these new releases and what you're hoping for in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.